Welcome to the countdown. While you wait for the show to begin, try to relax, grab a drink, sit down, and just enjoy the music.
Yeah. Ooh, whoa.
Don't Christina it out.
Okay.
A little bit of land goes a long, long way. If you believe fracking is okay, a little bit of land goes a long, long way. Sign the lease, bring the rings today. Everybody say money, 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 more money, more money.
She looks metallic.
Though I can't quite recall overnight sensation.
Welcome everybody for another review of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars Season 6. What an episode! Did you guys like it? While I greet the mighty chat, tell me if you like this episode. I cannot read that name. Oh my god, somebody just wrote. I think that's Korean. I cannot read that. There is no way in hell. So, welcome to Jasper Martin, Amateur Season, Aaron Fultz, Beaver Satil, Fabio Alvarenga, Quadonte, Sasha, A. Philip, Marek, Lisa Keith, Karina Wendland, Fantasia, the Queen of Discord, better known as Fartasia among friends, Zoe, Caro, Kevin Hoffman, Nora, Mrs. G, Myra, Jessica S, Signature Note, D15, Tukia, Registered Human, George, Tupsu Saivis, Verilyn, Luis Felipe, Owen Travis, Mariano Posse, Falcar, Nightmare, and everybody else that joined right now. Thank you so much for coming. This is incredible. So, what an episode. Lots of riggery. Nightmare. I completely agree. Myra, acting challenges are so scripted. Oh yeah, that's the point. That's absolutely the point. Brian Reyes, I cannot read that, but lip sync was terrific. Lip sync was amazing. It was the only saving grace. Mario Pimplegate, the second. Yes, the second chapter. There we are. We are exactly there. So, I hope you all had a nice week. As usual, while I'm doing the review, comments at top RPDR videos, they will be highlighted for me. If you would like to send super chats and support the channel, you're welcome to do that as well. So, before we begin, before we actually begin with the review, there is something that I want to talk to you about for a moment. I wanted to post this on the channel community section, but last time I did, it was complete chaos, even though I asked people to, keep it normal, keep it cute. But I want to talk about this for a moment because I have news about the widow situation. So it looks like the case is going to trial next March. Now, what I believe is that it's not necessarily a bad thing because a lot of things happened. There is a ton of information out there from both sides. The situation for me is incredibly undecided. It's very difficult to understand what's actually going on, the dynamics of what's going on. It's not as easy as it seems. So I hope that Whoever is right in this situation will have a little bit of justice, but this is going to happen. So this is just what I wanted to say, because last time I posted an update on the widow situation in the community section, and people started going crazy. People started, completely ignoring the guy's side or completely going against widow, and it's just not cute. Come on, we are mature people. We can talk and share information without necessarily being polarized and starting going at each other's throat. Otherwise, I cannot share information anymore. And there are some people out there who want to go, what the hell is going on? So this is our situation. Now, I have a couple of more news. I have a good news and I have a bad news. So which one do you want to hear first? Let's get some liquid energy while you make up your mind about that. As usual, not sponsored. Not sponsored. And while I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, that she told me that sugar-free energy drink, the Red Bull, are kind of shitty. And I said, you should get the one from Lidl. They are great. They taste great without sugar. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So, bad news. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, we're going with the bad news. Beaver, they want us so hard for Kylie to win that Michelle had to summon a demon to get out of her chair and act like an actress. Yeah, she was having her moment, wasn't she? Okay, let's start with the bad news. Now, this week, our Patreon was suspended for a copyright claim because apparently the chop is piracy of RuPaul's Drag Race. This is what they are claiming to Patreon. Now, I managed to get the page back up. I'm actually in talks with Patreon. It looks like the person who is handling my case maybe is new at his job. So it's kind of difficult to understand who actually did this. So this is what I'm trying to find out at the moment. Who did this? Because this could either be coming from Viacom or World of Wonder, or it could be a trolling attempt. So I need to understand who exactly is behind this. Now, I know that by law, Patreon has to tell me. I don't know if they will tell me. So this situation is still evolving. But don't worry, because we started this show without a Patreon, without the channel monetized. If everything goes away, we will still be here. So they can take my middle finger, shove it up their ass, and, take it. Who gives a shit? I mean, it's not like we rely on $88 a month before taxes to do this show. I mean, of course, financing is welcome because there is a cost to managing the channel, but, it's not like you take down a Patreon and you take down the channel. So whoever is doing this, really, you can take the whole hand. Although you might want the whole leg, considering, seeing those things. We're going to see more soon. I will let you know about that. Now, about the good news. I have been in talks with a couple of creators here on YouTube, because once I started receiving these notifications from Patreon, I started thinking, well, that's a lot of coincidence coming all together in the past 3 or 4 months. So maybe we should have a little bit of a talk about it. So I invited Vilma Fingerdew to the channel to have a live stream with us. And she said yes. We have talked last week. So next Wednesday, she will be coming on live stream with me to discuss the situation, what's going on with me, what's going on with Aki Lee, what went on with Jordan T, and all the bullshit that any critical channel of RuPaul's Drag Race has to go through, especially in the past 6 months. So, if everything goes well, we'll be live right here, same time, same place, but on Wednesday. Now, on Sunday, so for episode 7 of All Stars, we won't have a live stream because we are visiting my parents-in-law and they don't have a good internet connection, so I cannot live stream next Sunday. We will go directly to an episode and then we will see each other in 2 weeks. Now, yeah, I like Vilma. She's one of my, she is a real person. That's the point. She is a real person. You see a lot of businessmen here on YouTube. She's a real person, which is something that I personally appreciate a lot. Now, let's start with the review. It's been 10 minutes in. I haven't said anything about the review. So, welcome to the shop. And in this episode, we sell out to Disney because there is no limit to how much you can compromise your product for those sweet, sweet dollary dues. And the shilling is so pervasive that as a result, we are left with the most lackluster episode of the season, effectively plunging one of the best seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race into nosediving territory. There is really not much going on in this filler episode. Instead of Snatch Game, we have a terrible acting challenge, a ton of time traveling to support the plot. We find out more about Jen and her villain Edit, and we move forward with Kylie's and Raja's storyline. Then we're going to be discussing the critiques as usual, find back some sanity from the load of inconsistent crap that the judges fed us this week, and of course by the end the confessional chart and the speculation. There we go. We have a couple of comments. I saw a couple of... No, I didn't. I'm stroking. Oh, Emily, enjoy your trip. I hope so. I sure hope so. Beaver was waiting for years for Disney to buy Viacom. They just bought Fox. Good God, give them a rest. They just bought Fox. And Viacom just merged with Paramount. Paramount, if you speak Portuguese. Now, before we begin, if you like what we do, please take a moment to leave a comment, give the video a like, and possibly even share it, because that really is the best way to ensure that YouTube starts suggesting our content to new viewers who really have no idea that a review show like this actually exists. So it would be a great help for the channel. Thank you so much. And if you're a new subscribers, then a warm welcome to the channel. Now, the episode starts and we are back in the workroom. This is episode 5, day 2 of filming, and we are counting lipsticks, and we find out that Jen and Akira had the same number on votes. So Jen is so pissed that she teleports through time and space to voice her disappointment. Meet Pimple on the Nose Jen, that iteration of Jen that was used in episode 4 to make Jen look like she threw Akira under the bus, in episode 5 to look like she was a disingenuous villain who would relentlessly attack Scarlet, literally split seconds after crying basically on cue. And then in here as well to look pissed. And of course, in episode 6, day 2, during the voting segment, to shit a little bit more on Akira. Now, where does, I know what's the question on everybody's mind. Where does Pimple on the Nose Jen actually come from? Well, she comes from a faraway future. Yes, double feature. She comes from a faraway future. Her words are mostly taken out of context to push storylines. I have no idea why Jen would actually sit there and refilm those things, but I'm open to suggestions because I have no idea. I have no idea. It blows my mind that she did this. Of course, Pimple on the Nose Jen has no trace of any pimple on her upper lip. So, if we learned anything from Dr. Pimple Popper, is that skin lesions cannot really heal that well in half a day and then magically reappear the day after. So, of course, I also checked this confessional under different lights because sometimes concealer can actually make a pimple invisible, but it's not there. It's nothing. It's perfect skin. So, Pimple on the Nose Jen comes from a very far away future. And as confirmation, we can see Jen in the workroom back in episode 5, day 1, sporting a nice pimple on the upper lip, and Jen in the workroom during episode 6, day 1, sporting the same nice pimple on the lip. So, this Jen definitely comes from the future. Now, why is it so important to trace down where this confession is coming from? Because she has been used through 3 different episodes already to push storylines and make Jen look completely like shit. So it's important to realize that her words are taken out of context. Are taken out of context, and for the worst possible purpose. Now, after a temporal incursion from Pimple on the Nose Jen, meet Big Pimple on the Lip Jen. And she is here to be really, really pissed. Jen is so pissed in this confessional that she looks triggered. This cannot be acting. This is not acting. And by tracing Pimple, I think that we can be pretty sure that this confessional comes from episode 5, day 2, or at most episode 6, day 1, in a skipped confessional. So, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you should watch the episode 5 of The Chop, because I spent a ton of time describing all of these confessionals and how they merge together. Now, Big Pimple on the Lip Jen with razor burn on the neck is the Jen that was crying back in episode 5. But here, I want you to focus on the fact that she also appeared in episode 4, and she was quoting the events of episode 4. So this means that at some point any queens can sit to record confessionals, and the producers will ask them questions about past episodes, not just the episode in which they just appeared. So this makes our job a little bit more difficult, but don't worry, we are prepared. So, there is a pimple detail, sorry. This comes from episode 6, day 1. So you can see that those pimples are all in the exact same position. So there is no doubt anymore. And I'm telling you this because last episode we speculated that she might have been coming from episode 4. And that was an incorrect assumption, because she is definitely coming from this time frame. Now, there we go. While the Queen discuss, we find out a couple of things. Number 1 is that Jen is still fixated on the judges' feedback from episode 3, when they told her to bring the funk, bring the humanity, and the fact that using that feedback she was able to win a challenge. And number 2, that she really has no idea when her energy is too high. So she started asking everyone, what did she say? She started asking everyone if they thought she was at 110% during the challenge, and everyone says yes. So they tell her, just be normal, Jen, just be normal. Normal. The problem is that for Jen, normal is what we understand as too high energy. So it's going to be interesting going forward. Let me go to the comments. I saw a couple of comments. Beaver. Is Pimple on the Nose Jen the new spiky hair rosé? We have many spiky hair rosé. Many. Luis Felipe. Dawn, they are really coming for Jen for this season. My only hope is that she goes home as soon as possible. Mine as well. Mine as well. Absolutely. So, it's a new day in the workroom, and Ru comes in to announce the Maxi Challenge, which is Rumerican Horror Story, an acting challenge where the producers basically created the roles, wrote the script, and at least the queens gets to assign those roles. Now, do you remember back in episode 3 when I told you that there is a difference between an acting challenge that is stupid and an acting challenge that's idiotic? Like, stupid is campy, stupid is fun, stupid means that there are talented people to write the comedy behind stupid challenges. Because comedy is not easy. It actually takes effort. You need to use the right references in the right moment. You need to have timing. That's how you make a good stupid challenge. While idiotic is something that really requires you to be brain damaged to actually enjoy what you're seeing on screen. This challenge is idiotic. And I'm going to expand a little bit more on that later. But for the moment, I can't help but thinking that something doesn't smell quite right about this challenge, because it's going to end up so lackluster and poorly written that it kind of looks less like our usual campy self-referential challenge and more like a 10 minutes of fucking advertisement for American Horror Story. Oh, and by the way, don't miss a whole new season of American Horror Story starting August 25th, only on FX. There you go. I wonder who owns FX. Who do you think it is? I think it's Disney, isn't it? Oh yes, it's Disney. Didn't Disney advertise already once on RuPaul's Drag Race? Sorry, did I say advertise? I meant license their content. Oh yes, if you're thinking of season 12, you are completely right. Do you remember this episode? This was the lip sync between Britta and I cannot remember her name. I can't believe it. Oh shit. Oh shit. I should not come tired to the live stream. Oh my god. Aiden. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. My god. This is the lip sync between Britta and Aiden. When Aiden finally goes home. So, in season 12, we had this episode with the Frozen Eleganza runway. Well, where of course Ru took care to remind us that the runway was inspired by the Broadway musical of Frozen. Now, in this episode, this is the episode where the lip sync song was Let It Go, the version from the Broadway musical of Frozen. Also, the only episode where Redacted was conveniently edited out from the runway. I wonder why. But, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Which runway, you ask? Well, of course, it's the Frozen Eleganza runway, inspired by the Broadway musical of Frozen. And I'll say Frozen again, just, in case you forget. The Broadway musical, of course. So, something starts to smell fishy already. So we will count this as strike one and see if we get some more hints going forward. What do you think? Oh, and listening to these judges' critiques, this past 2 episodes has been scarier than American Horror Story. Grover, on that episode with the reading challenge that they cut out because it was too bad and Redacted won. Oh, good God. So, the queens go to the sofa. They have some minor disagreement about which queen gets which role, but in the end, they all agree that Jen was typecast. Immediately after, we have a triple mismatch confessional from Akira, because you have to understand, she has to look overly confident, so that when she fucks up during rehearsal, you will notice that even more. So she will be teleported through time and space as well, in order to push the plot along. And she's not the only one. She's not the only one. Because we also find out that, unfortunately, poor Raja got trapped in the mirror universe. But on the bright side, it didn't really interfere with her ability to time travel from the past. Because Raja from the left comes from this episode. Although, trapped in the mirror universe. But Raja from the right comes from episode 1, day 1. So she's taking a huge time leap. And they are both here to prime you on the fact that Raja's problem in this challenge is going to be her characterization. Nothing happens by chance of RuPaul's Drag Race. Nothing. Fantasia, Freeze, don't forget to like and share. Thank you for the support, Fantasia. Thank you so much. Now, immediately after this sequence of random events, we move on to the big screen because Angela Bassett is here to help our queens. And you know, she's one of the shining stars of American Horror Stories. And of course, it makes sense that she is here because after all, this challenge inspires, quote, by American Horror Story. However, this is kind of the second coincidence. So I'm kind of starting to see a little bit of a pattern in here, don't you think? So the queens are extremely excited to see her, except for Eureka. And you cannot see it here because I don't have a video, but in the video you will see her. She looks like she's busy checking something out and doesn't even realize that something is going on until she hears everyone screaming. She is literally like, what the fuck is this thing in my head? Then everybody starts screaming, and out of the blue, she's like, oh my god! That's ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. But this was really gaggy. It was really gaggy. So, the queens have a nice talk. Angela is delightful, of course. But I cannot help but thinking that there is something really fishy going on in here. And, you know, now that I think about it, the queens looked really excited in their confessionals, a little bit too excited, especially Eureka, Trinity, and Raja. So why don't we take a look back and see if we get any hints? And here we have meet wavy hair Eureka. And Eureka I never told you about before because it was not relevant, but of course I noticed that she she had temporal incursions in episode 4, episode 5, and now also in episode 6. In all of these incursions, she directly references the events of the current episode. So you know that this confessional is coming from the future again. How far away? I don't know, ask Jen. And on the right, we have what I like to call the There's Something About Mary Eureka. She seems to belong to episode 6, day 1. So, it's funny to think that somehow Eureka had to be teleported and have a mismatched confessional in order to look excited to meet Angela. And she's not the only one, because of course we have a temporal incursion from Trinity, a double temporal incursion from Trinity in a mismatched confessional. I mean, it doesn't get better than this. So we have pink-haired Trinity, who has incursions in episode 3, 4, 5, and 6. So she is another Time Lord. Welcome to the club. Just join Eureka and Jen. And on the right, we have Trinity time traveling from episode 3, day 2. Because she needs to look excited. That's the point. And of course, how can we forget Raja? Raja on the left is coming from episode 1, day 2. Do you remember episode 1, day 2? Do you remember which challenge was in there? It was the talent show. It was the talent show. She was saying, yes, ma'am, come through to one of the girls in the talent. But of course, she needed to be teleported here to look as if she was referring to Angela. And the Raja on the right, I wasn't being able to find out where she belongs yet. Anyway, nevertheless, off camera, you hear her say black, and then the tone changes and her camera says excellence, referring to Angela, which she is. Nobody is doubting that. But what was the purpose of all of this manipulation to overly praise Angela, look overly excited? So, this is the question. Why did these queens need to teleport through time and space to look so overly excited? Just excited wasn't good enough? Because I am sure that they were. I mean, who wouldn't? Sorry. So it almost looks as if Angela was there to represent a product And, by virtue of association, any excessive praise for her automatically translates to excessive praise for the product. And I'm asking you, do you know any kind of media that is known for overly excessive praise? Because I think that's the exact definition of advertisement, isn't it? Sorry, I'm eating on my words. I think that's the exact definition of advertisement, isn't it? So, this is strike 3, and we are not even remotely done yet. Oh, I saw a couple of comments. Where are they? Nightmare. Oh, do you mean Frozen, the Broadway musical? Yes, I meant Frozen, the Broadway musical. Owen, Eureka is like Scarlett, being here for it, but out of frame. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, after this, we move to rehearsal. We move to rehearsal because we need to take a little bit of a shit on Raja and Akira, because by the end of the episode, they both need to be on the bottom so that everybody will agree that Akira is the one that goes sent home. What happened with Jara doesn't need to happen anymore, at least from a producer's perspective, of course. So there is a big difference in the way these two queens are treated during rehearsal. They shit on both of them, but in very different ways. So while the judges shit all the way on Raja's characterization, which to me was completely was completely fine. I mean, it's her characterization. That's what she wants to do. And of course, not only they sound more patronizing as usual, but they are relentlessly attacking the way Raja has decided to portray her character, which for me, they had no business to do to begin with. But, somehow we gotta take her down a little bit, because otherwise people will not buy the fact that she will need to be on the bottom. But, and that's a big but, Raja is allowed to appear in a confessional to defend her characterization. And this is really important, because you, the audience, need to be convinced that Raja is just doing bad in this challenge, not that she is a villain or that she really deserves to go home. And that's extremely different from what happens to Akira, because Akira receives a ton of corrections for her acting. Michelle looks pissed. I don't know if I would ever call it pissed, because she looks like she's being a bitch. I need to cut this off when the episode come out. I really need it. We will keep it for the live stream. So, Michelle looks like a Karen. Let's say it how it is. And instead of Akira, we have a confessional from Ginger, who is time traveling to tell us that Akira's best, unfortunately, is not enough. And you might ask, where is Eureka traveling from? I will tell you next episode. For now, we move on to Kylie. Now, we see Kylie fucking up big time. How big, you ask? Well, for 45 minutes, at least according to Trinity. And the tea that she spilled during the Roscoe's viewing party. So, the editors really want you to notice that Kylie is doing bad. So, we have pink hair Trinity traveling from the future to tell us that what's going on is not good. We have Ginger summoned in a mismatched confessional while time traveling at the same time. And of course, Michelle gets on stage to show Kylie how it's done. And I'm like, this is clearly Michelle's moment. And no one can convince me that it was not going to happen no matter what. No matter who got that role, no matter how good they were, it was going to happen. She probably rehearsed extensively and days in advance for this moment. This was her moment. So, at this point, you might be thinking, well, Kylie is going to be in the bottom, because usually when queens are shown getting constant directions, constant feedback, they're not doing well, they will be in the bottom, and they went in really hard to show Kylie fucking up. But, this is a mini redemption storyline for Kylie in this episode. So the more you see her fucking up, the more effective her win will be by contrast. Comments. Tukia, I love that Raja got the critique that she had. Good chemistry with Trinity before protecting herself from all the shit the producers threw at her. Luis Felipe, Michelle Visage is clearly not a director. She is at best a producer's assistant. Producer assistant? Maybe talent handler. Can we go with that? Talent handler? So at this point, we are back in the workroom where we have another temporal incursion from wavy hair Eureka to tell us that she is a sex magnet. And I'm like, yes. Now, this is not the most important thing that happens in here. The most important thing is that we are talking about spirits. And I'm like, instead of talking about the challenge, opening up, have a mirror moment, uplift each other, like we are used to. The mirror moments are something that even the queens know that it exists. It's like a pivotal moment in RuPaul's Drag Race. But instead of all of that, somehow the queens start discussing spirits. And that's a very curious topic. Very in line with the Maxi advertisement for this episode. So, I'm really wondering which field producer suggested Kylie to introduce this very specific and out of place topic. Sorry, did I say Maxi advertisement? I meant Maxi challenge, of course. And this is strike 4. In addition to that, we find out that Akira wants to open a funeral home. This is her mirror moment. And I mean, I stand. How can I not? Moving on. We move to the main stage, and Emma Roberts is here, another leading actress from American Horror Story, and she's here as a guest judge, which I'm sure has nothing to do with the compulsory promotional appearances that are so fashionable in today's entertainment contracts, It's just a coincidence. The 5th one, but, still just a coincidence. So, at this point I'm thinking, boy oh boy, Drag Race really is an incredible place, full of random events that just by sheer coincidence happen to align in such a way as to kind of make it look like World of Wonder sold out every little bit of integrity that's left in the show for money. What a great message. I mean, who needs friends, family, equality, or even integrity when you have money? I know RuPaul would understand. You guys in the chat cannot understand, but I know Ru would perfectly understand what I'm talking about. Youth caused it. I just remember the producers really made sure that every queen told us in the confessionals that Jen was typecast for this annoying character. Oh yes, let's not give her any credit. She needs to have this moment. It's part of her villain edit. It's part of the recipe for making a villain. Beaver, the spirit topic is more a hot button than the ones that appeared in the pink table talk. Read them to filth. Bill Adolfo, what's your opinion on Leah Michelle parody? Jen/Rachel Berry appearing on American Horror Story huge ad when she didn't even act on that series of Ryan Murphy? I don't think I understood the question. Leah Michelle parody? So Jen made a parody from Leah Michelle. And that parody appears on American Horror Story. Oh! Because you know what? Maybe World of Wonder went to them and said, of course, I have to say it, hypothetical scenario. Maybe Disney arrived and said, listen, we would like to advertise on your show, but not really advertise because, it doesn't really look good. Make it look classy. Make it look... What's the word? I had the word. I cannot remember the word, so we're going to go like, yeah, make it look classy, you know, the usual, like you do the usual. And maybe World of Wonder went like, okay, listen, I will take 80% of the money if you can do me this favor as well. So we have like a little bit of cross promotion, and everybody thinks, you know, it's just normal. They just digest everything together without realizing that they're being fucking bombarded with advertisement. Disguised as entertainment. We can call it entertisement or whatever it is. Ryan, make it look subtle. Yes. Yes, the key word is plausible deniability. So, Sasha, Rachel is from Glee, not from American Horror Story. Jen at the only character that wasn't in American Horror Story. Oh, another coincidence. Another coincidence, but this time not the ones that we've talked about so far. So, let's review this 10 minutes of Maxi Challenge disguised as advertisement. Wink, wink. Are we ready? Are you ready? Are you all ready? Let's get a little bit of energy drink before. I need to mentally prepare. So, here it is. American Horror Story. So, for me, the whole thing was painful to watch, and it kind of felt like it would never end. I almost fell asleep a couple of times. The script is terrible. The characters are so poorly written that they don't even qualify as an afterthought. And the whole thing makes absolutely no sense. You have this show that desperately tries to somewhat integrate RuPaul's Drag Race into the storyline of one of the most iconic seasons of American Horror Story, and just fails miserably and in the worst possible way. But I have to say something in favor of the queens, because even experienced actors have real trouble in delivering convincing performances if the script is garbage. So you know that going into this, the queens had absolutely no chance, despite trying their best, and all of them did genuinely try their best. But if the script is garbage, there is like very little that you can do about it. So you have this Drag Race references thrown randomly in there, as if quoting Alyssa Edwards, Willem, or RuPaul's song will definitely be enough to, effectively disguise this thing as a challenge instead of the paid advertisement it most probably was. So there are constant references to American Horror Story that are so pervasive that the whole segment really looks like a strange episode of American Horror Story that is trying to reference RuPaul's Drag Race and not the opposite. And that is strike 6. The whole thing to me made absolutely no sense. There are times in which she's trying to go for a dramatic tone, but there is no drama. Then there are times in which it tries to be funny, but it's just sad. The editing is lackluster, the set is cheap, the tone is ambivalent, and the script, I cannot even get started on the script. It was just bullshit. It was just, sorry if I'm being vulgar, but it was just bullshit. So there's nothing even remotely entertaining in this. It's not even enjoyable as a train wreck. It's just garbage. And, it's doing a huge disservice to the fans and especially to the queens. Because you know that they put their career on the line to appear on All Stars and they had to go through this. So let that sink in for a moment. Personally, I feel like I got stupider just by watching this. And it was 10 minutes. Imagine being there for a whole day. It's... I don't know. I understand getting those sweet coins. Who doesn't like money? Of course, World of Wonder is a business. They love money. But how far Are you willing to compromise your product in order to maximize profits? And is it even sustainable in the long term? Because if you keep serving this shit over and over and over, you know what people will do? People will be like, oh, I'm not watching this. I'm not watching it. I'm not subscribing to Paramount Plus. You know what? I'll watch the reviews. I will wait. Then maybe if I'm really curious, I will subscribe for 1 month. In 3 months, binge watch the whole thing and then show you the middle finger. This is what people do. Because you cannot continuously serve this garbage. This company is getting literally hundreds of millions of dollars. How the hell can you not afford to hire writers? Or to say no when companies come to you and say, wink, wink, would you like to license our content for a parody challenge? I mean, oh, for God's sake. Oh, for God's sake. So, moving on. Let's move on to the critiques. So, we are on the main stage. Trinity and Pandora are safe. Oh, I forgot to tell you what I thought about their performances. Well, first I tell you what I thought about their performances, then we go to the critiques. Now, for me, the most committed were Ginger and Pandora. Then, under Ginger and Pandora, probably Jen, Eureka, and Raja, all on the same level. They did a decent job for me. I thought that Raja had the best characterization, sue me. Jen was clearly typecast, and to me, she didn't really have a characterization for her character. It was Jen. It was a character written for Jen to be Jen. So if I have to judge the effort, well, she didn't really make up a character. That's my point. And Eureka was only partially in character. I could see moments in which she was really shining, despite the bad script, the bad set, the bad tone, the bad editing. But half of the times she was just Eureka. Everyone else, there is no way to know. I think that no one really deserved to be in the bottom for this thing. Really. No one. Now, moving on to the critiques. Kit Kat, what's happening? Oh, Kit Kat, please keep it cute. I mean, we are all here to express our opinions, possibly in the nicest terms we possibly can, but don't be a dick. Come on, it doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much. We are all here to have a little bit of fun. Come on. Okay, so moving on to the critiques. We have Ginger. To Ginger, for her runway, they tell her that it was really fun, whatever it means, of course. It's kitschy, it's campy, and it's gingery. Which tells us nothing about what in the outfit actually contributes to those ideas or why. So it's not a feedback, it's not a critique, it's just an opinion. Personally, I liked the runway. I thought it was fun. I thought it was kitschy. I thought it was gingery. No, listen. To me, she looked like this 18th century widow. So it's really nothing to gag on, but it was okay. It was an honest okay for this runway. It kind of reads as gothic, but maybe my idea of gothic doesn't really align with what is actually considered to be a goth outfit. And if we have Goth Boy UK in the chat, he can jump in and tells us what the fuck is actually going on. For the challenge, they told her that she stole the scene because she knew where the camera was. And I was like, what the fuck? She stole the scene because she knew where the camera was? That's some new level of bullshit, isn't it? Anyway, she was amazing. Her physical comedy was amazing. And that's it. That's her feedback for the challenge. God forbid that we give her actual credit for being the most committed one in the bunch, because of course she doesn't have to win. This is not her moment, it's someone else's moment. So we're going to keep it at that. Now, what I would have appreciated if they talked about her characterization, her timing, and most of all the commitment to the character, because Ginger really gave 110% in this challenge, and in the best possible way. Next up we have Eureka. For the runway, she did a great job. That's it. Seriously, that's it. She did a great job. That's her critique. Nothing else. For the challenge, Emma loved her energy. She was so present, which I don't know if it's like a serious critique or a fat joke. She is not afraid to go for it, which is another way of saying nothing while opening your mouth. And she was one note and repetitive. Ouch. So at this point I'm asking, if Eureka was one note, how did she end up high, while Eureka's one note acting was bottom worthy? How interesting, isn't it? Moving on to Raja, her runway. Ru says, "This is so beautiful." Ru. Michelle, "This is goth and beautiful and classically gorgeous." I mean, I have to find a way to word what I think properly. She looked amazing. She really looked amazing. I loved that wig. The makeup is stunning. It's just fantastic. But is it goth? And this is a serious question. Is it goth? Because to me, which I am a common nobody, so, you know, I am the average viewer of RuPaul's Drag Race, to me this doesn't read as goth. It's beautiful, but it doesn't read as goth. So, you know, you can jump in. I'm not judging anyone, but this is what I think about it. This is what I think about it. I mean, if they really wanted to put her in the bottom, this was a perfect chance to actually, you know, give her a critique that is a fair critique and also achieves your purpose, which is put her in the bottom so that everybody else will vote for Akiria. So I don't know. For the challenge, they said that she had good chemistry with Trinity, but her characterization wasn't working for Ross and Michelle, and she wasn't really taking directions. Somehow I have the feeling that if she did take direction, then they would have found something else to complain about. And I know I'm not the only one into this. Now, you might like her characterization, you might dislike it, but I think we can all agree on the fact that there was a characterization. So at least she should be praised for that, because a lot of other queens didn't bring any kind of characterization. But this is beside the point. The point is she has to be in the bottom. The point is whoever is in the bottom with her needs to go home. That's the whole point. There is no other point. And who else has to be in the bottom? Akiria, of course. So to Akiria, they tell her that she looks gorgeous, the dress is intricate, she looks sharp but delicate. And this is a pretty good critique. Still not what I would call quality feedback, but we are on the right track. Personally, this was one of my favorite outfits, and this reads goth to me. This absolutely reads goth to me. For the challenge, they say that she had good moments, but she was monotone. Oh, really? And Ru said there were no nuances to the character that... there were no nuances to your character. And it felt underdeveloped. And I'm like, yes, of course, but were those nuances in the script? in that, in that garbage thing that you probably wrote 5 minutes while being on the toilet and being pleasured by the nice lady on the other side of the stall? Because, come on, let's not bullshit each other. Her character had no nuances. It was poorly written, and she's not even an actress, so you really double down on her. So, sometimes I'm left puzzled, because I love the way that Ru can say the worst shit with a straight face. But on the other hand, I still get a little bit triggered by the kind of shit that she says. So I'm still trying to find balance. It's a struggle. It really is a struggle. Oh my god. Chat, what do you think? Emmeline, the most goth of all was Akira. I agree. The best outfit at the intersection of goth and fashion to me was Akira. Hands down. Sasha, it really feels like production said be goth, but not really. Jen and Akira was the closest though. I kind of feel that wasn't the OG theme for this runway. Yeah, there is this thing with the runway that they start with something generic, and then the queens come on the race. They need to show all of their runways, and then based on whoever they want to be on the top or on the bottom, they will modify the runway theme a little bit to give a little bit of a push to someone and a little bit of push to someone else. Unfortunately, this doesn't always work, which explains why Akira is one of the best runways and still was put in the bottom. Now, moving on to Jen. Jen's runway work was costumey but glamorous. And that's it. Nothing else. They don't elaborate on that anymore. Now, her runway was not my favorite, but it was very close to my favorite, because this reads goth to me. When she came out with these contact lenses, the first thought that I had is she looks like she's kind of ready to audition for Dragula. Not participate, but at least audition. So it means it's a good thing. It means that she was doing a good job. For the challenge, they say that she was born to play that role. Really. In other words, we could also say that that role was born to be played by her, Then she did right in going in 110% for this role. It was so fun. Michelle was proud of her. Ross thinks that she did great. She hit that sweet spot, and he loved her singing. Singing? Oh, shit. And he loved her singing. Now, to me, I told you already, there was very little characterization. Jen was conveniently typecast in the role. And all of this, it's quite convenient. But this is a convenient episode after all. So I'm kind of wondering if they are rewarding her right now because she was successfully triggered the episode before. And when you are in the cycle of a villain, do you remember the recipe for the perfect villain? First you get triggered, then once you lash out, you get rewarded so that you feel comfortable in lashing out. Then you get triggered again so that you can lash out again. Then add a pinch of editing magic, and there you have it, your perfect villain. So I'm kind of wondering if the next episode she will be triggered again, but we will have to wait and see. Anyway, good for Jen that she got a little bit of rest, but I think she's going to be getting it big time next episode. Be prepared. Be prepared. And last but not least, Kylie. Now, to Kylie, they say that for the runway, they say, wait a moment, I cannot read what the fuck I wrote in my notes in here. Oh, for the runway, Michelle said, wearing subtle fishnets underneath the garment is absolutely stunning. Wait, what? Wearing subtle fishnets underneath the garment is absolutely stunning. Okay. Whatever that means. Okay, I'll take it. Nothing else. Nothing else. Just this observation. Because I guess we have to keep it cute. Because Kylie has to win, and we cannot really talk about the fact that her outfits reads more like dominatrix than actually goth. You know, she looks beautiful, hands down. That outfit is fantastic. I love everything about it. You know, I cannot describe it, how incredible it is, how it goes around her body, how it feels like a natural part of her body. It's just beautiful. But is it goth? Is it? Because, you know, to me it looks like she's hiding a whip somewhere and telling me that I'm not being a good boy. That's what she looks like. Can I say that? Okay, forget about that. Moving on to the challenge. So, first, it wasn't bad. But, first it wasn't good. But it took some feedback from Ross and Michelle to become really great. And at this point, Ross disagrees. Because Kylie got herself there, not Michelle and Ross. Ooh, shocker. So, Ru says that Kylie has a captivating energy. She has star quality, and she can't take her eyes off of her. Which I completely agree, but has nothing to do with this challenge. That's the point. It has nothing to do with this challenge. It's just a load of crap that she probably doesn't even believe, because, you know, Kylie really did her best, but in the end the result was mediocre at best. Kylie is not an actress. So I am asking, why forcing this win for something that Kylie is not really good at? Why can't we have her shine in something that she actually excels at, like dancing and singing? Because when you push someone for no real reason, you're not only betraying their talent, you are betraying the spirit of the competition, and ultimately you are betraying us, the viewers. So I am happy for Kylie that she actually got a win, because it means that she actually has a chance to go to that top 4, maybe even win. But, you know, it doesn't feel earned. That's the problem. It doesn't feel earned. And I feel that many viewers will look at this challenge and look at this win and thinking, oh, she doesn't really deserve it. Whatever happens to her during the competition, she will not deserve it because she's being favored. And they are right, she is being favored, but that has nothing to do with how much she deserves it. That's the point that I wanted to make. So, by the end of the critiques, Kylie is the winner. Ginger, Eureka, and Jen are high. And of course, Akira and Raja are in the bottom. So at this point, you are 100% sure that Akira is going to go home. Chat, I saw a couple of comments popping out. You see how good I have become in reading the chat? There used to be a time in which I would go through the review and then was like, oh shit, I didn't read the chat. Luis Felipe, if the fishnets were ripped, it would have been more gothic. Yes. Beaver, just waiting a born naked category on this season for Kylie to kill it. I wouldn't mind that. Sasha, Leah, aka Rachel, is pretty much Jan, so I really couldn't do much more. Also, I think they wanna trigger Jan harder, because they use the same critiques for good and bad, making her lost. Well, yes, they use the same style of critique. They just say, oh, you are too high energy. Oh, you are too low energy. Then, you know, they go in a little bit more. Instead of saying low energy, they say, oh, you're lacking the funk and the humanity, you know? Or it's, you know, it's been like this. Season 12, you're too high. Then episode 3, you're too low. Then episode 5, you're too high again. So, you know, next episode, her critique will be that she is too low energy. That's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. Ryan, RuPaul saying you have star quality is the perfect winner edit, like Simone in the first acting season of season 13. Yeah, you know, when Ru says to someone, you have star quality, for me, it's like an alarm bell. because it's not good. It's not good. RuPaul is not the kind of person to go to someone and says you have star quality. That's, you know, her earpiece talking. So I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing, but it's a good thing in the worst possible way. If I made myself clear in what I mean by that, and you know, I hope it is. Luis Felipe, the level of professionalism, far too much. Referring to what? Beaver, 69 likes. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate anything. I'm not complaining, you know. You have people saying like, but there is this and there, and I'm not complaining. It's fine. It's fine. Felicia, driving but listening to every word. Thank you. Sen, welcome. Ryan, Jen's character was a little bit like a villain in Glee. Oh, I don't know. I don't watch Glee, so I wouldn't. But I take your word for it. I take your word for it. Okay, shall we move on to Untucked and Deliberation? Tukia, Eureka was low. Was she? Because I was under the impression that if they call them first all together, the first one that they call are going to be high. Then the other ones will going to be low, and then you have the bottom two. Let's see what Wikipedia has to say about it, because, you know, they are really compulsive. So I tend to trust Wikipedia on this. Let's see what they say. Oh, Eureka was low. Oh, shit. Well, I'll make a correction in the episode. It's fine. So, Eureka was low. Thank you for the heads up. I would have never found out until the next time I go to the actual page. Annalisa Vicarian? Do you think showing that Kylie doesn't deserve the win is the real Ru getting a revenge on a forced representation for trans? I recall he was transphobic. No. It's not that serious. For RuPaul, I don't think it's that serious. I mean, RuPaul, I think she is over that. How old is she? She's like 60 at this point. I mean, she is really over it. This is like the kind of bullshit that we can discuss with each other, but, you know, for her, she is on another level, and she is there. She wants her paycheck, you know? She hassled all her life. She got this very profitable gig, and she gets her paycheck. She will say whatever she needs to say. I don't think she cares in the slightest, and that's how it is. That's really how it is. I mean, and there is really no shade on that, because RuPaul is a businessman. Although he likes to pretend to be a mother. Sasha, Ginger Jen, and Kylie were the top. Yes, you are right. You're right. So they put Eureka in the bottom. That was really strange for me. Low. That was really strange that she was low. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of strange. I don't know, maybe I'm biased. I don't know. I hated this challenge. I really hated this challenge. It was so boring. It was so boring. My God, and I had to watch it twice. One normally and one for the review. Poor me. I'm still recovering. I need more liquid energy. I need to recover. So, let's go back to the workroom for Untucked and Deliberation. Now, Untucked, there's really not much going on, except that we get more screen time for Pandora. And this is the real shocker of the episode. It's nothing that we said, it's not anything that we said so far. The real shocker is that Pandora actually got screen time in Untucked, sharing her scene with only one other queen, and we still didn't notice her. How nice is that? So we go back to the workroom with the other queens for deliberation. And at this moment, we find out more about Raja's storyline. So, instead of pleading her case to the queens, Raja starts talking about her story, about her friendship with Akira, about their experiences on Drag Race, and this whole segment ended up edited in a way that it really feels more like a storyline exposition than a genuine struggle. I am sure that the struggle was there. I'm not saying it wasn't there. But the way it was edited, it really looked like exposition, like saying, oh, look, we are moving Raja's storyline a little bit further. So, of course, we have all the queens in full front, reacting empathically to Raja. We have a throwback to season 11, and on top of that, we also have a confessional from Raja. So at this point, everyone knows that Akira will go home. Raja knows it, Akira knows it, all the queens knows it, Kylie knows it, but, you know, at least Raja kind of gave up pretending that she was pleading her case. And personally, I liked it. Because at least it was a real moment. It was not like, oh yes, I am pretend. Everybody knows that Akira is going on. Let's just talking about something else. And this is not the only moment for Raja, because this Untucked is basically all about Raja. Because at some point she has her talk with Kylie. And there she has another chance to show her growth, talking about her different attitude toward being in the bottom. Because back in season 11 she was angry, and she is not anymore. Right now she is not angry and she is not upset. Instead she feels empowered. At the end, of course, we have a nice mismatched confessional to tie everything together. And her storyline moves forward in a full circle. Because back in season 11, Akira sent her home, and now she is going to be the one sending Akira home. And her attitude has done a complete 180. Now, at the end of this segment, and before we actually move on to the lip sync, there is still a little bit of time to shit on Jen. Ooh, there's always time to take a little bit of a dump on Jen. So, we have Akira coming in a confessional saying, I don't know who put a spell on me. Who put a spell on you, Akira? And immediately after, we have this image of Jen with the shady noise coming on. Because, of course, there's always time to shit on Jen. And while voting, of course, we have another temporal incursion from our pimple on the nose, Jen, telling us that the answer is clear. I wonder what was the question. Oh, good God. You know something terrible is going to happen to Jen next episode. It has to. It has to. At this point, it's undeniable. Something terrible is going to happen, and I'm not sure that I'm ready for that. I am not sure. I'm not sure. So we move back to the main stage, where we find out that Manila Luzon is the lip sync assassin for this episode. And we're finally going to see Kylie lip sync for the first time since season 2. So, you know, if you watched season 2, you know that her performance with Morgan was absolutely legendary. It's one of my favorite lip syncs of all time, because it's really rare to have two queens on stage absolutely killing it. And, you know, that has been my personal favorite lip sync for a long time. For a long time. So, what did I want to say? I wanted to say something that just slipped my mind. Oh, and if you don't remember season 12, maybe you remember that viral video that showed Sonique lip syncing and interacting. Emphasis on interacting with a fan on stage. Oh, good God. D15, do you think they will do a game within a game next episode? Like, we have 7 queens left, right? Or they will wait for the top 6? Well, in the very beginning of the review, we speculated that the reason for having 2 episodes at once, coming out at once, could have been because they needed at least 2 queens to start the game within a game. Now, of course, that prediction went down the drain because at the time I was thinking, okay, we have 2 episodes, then maybe next episode we already start the game within a game, and we go on like that, like 1 episode of the regular season, 1 episode of the game within a game, and that prediction it didn't happen. So I have no idea, but based on that, maybe I would say they get at least an even number of queens if they really go 2 by 2 and it wasn't really shown for us. I don't know. Personally, I don't know. At this point, I'm just ignoring the thing because, in a way, I'm excited. I want to find out what the hell it is. And on the other hand, I cannot find an answer. I don't even have a clue of where to begin. So, sorry. Tukia, before I watched this episode Untucked, I didn't know that Pandora was on this season. Me neither. Ryan, Raja is so good TV and so smart at playing the game, giving everything the producers want. She is. Emmeline, what % chance is there, if any, in your opinion, that the whole episode was set up so Kylie could lip sync? Oh, 100%. It's clear. It's 100%. It's not like the whole episode was built around giving Kylie a win, but everything that we saw in the way the rehearsal was produced, in the editing, was telling a very simple story. I want you to notice, I want her to win, but I also want you to notice her. So I'm going to push her down as much as possible during rehearsal so that when she wins, the contrast is so high that you notice it, that I have your attention. So yes, 100%. But I wouldn't go so far as saying that the whole episode was molded around her win, because it was molded around advertisement, in my opinion, of course. Sen, since you were talking about Morgan and Kylie, Sonique was one of the favorite lip sync. I'm wondering, what is your top 3 or 5 lip sync of all times? That is a difficult question, but favorite is the ones where 2 queens are there and they are both killing it in the way I like it to be killed. So I have a top 3, which is number 1, Laganja versus Trinity, the latest edition. Then number 2, Alyssa Edwards versus Tatiana, and number 3, Sonique versus Morgan, or she goes by Kylie now, Kylie versus Morgan. Those are my best 3 by 2 queens. Single queens, oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, let's go back to the end and finish this episode. So we go to the speculations and we go to smoke a cigarette. Yay! So, the queens lip sync. And you know that Kylie is a lip sync assassin. So the moment we found out that the song is from Christina Aguilera, I'm like, that Manila will be absolutely obliterated. She has no chance whatsoever. Kylie's performance was great for me. Not Laganja level of iconic, but it was very, very well executed. I mean, those acrobatics were great with the song. She did a fantastic job for me. She did a fantastic job. Although I must admit that I'm pretty tired myself of all these close-up single shots that we're starting to get in the lip syncs. A lot of people pointed that out already, and I'm totally on board with it. It's a lip sync between 2 queens. I want to see 2 queens most of the time. It doesn't have to be all of the time, but most of the time I want to see both of them. I want to see how they are moving on the stage. I want to see if they are interacting with each other. I'm tired of close-ups. I completely agree with everyone else. we are tired of close-ups. This is the kind of images that we want to see, both of them. It's also easier to compare them. But you know, if it's easier to compare them, it becomes more difficult to manipulate the outcome. And that's probably why we are getting so many close-ups. So, by the end of the lip sync, Manila was found dead on the edge of the main stage. Because Kylie wins, she absolutely killed the performance, and she sends Akira home. And you cannot say that Akira doesn't have class. She went out well. No, I don't want to say it like that. It feels like she's dying. But she left the stage with grace, with a lot of grace and a lot of dignity. So good for her. I hope that she will get to raise her bookings because of coming to All Stars. I hope she gained more followers. She deserved them. She still doesn't do it for me, really, but she does it a little bit more since I saw her on All Stars. So, good job. Good job. Okay, now moving on to the confessional chart and the speculations. If you don't want any possible spoilers, this is the moment you should absolutely leave the review. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. For everybody else that is still here, I will have a little bit of an energy drink. Maybe should I take a cigarette pause, or should we do through the speculations first? This is difficult. This is a difficult decision because I do really want to smoke a cigarette. But then if I go smoking, I come back relaxed, and I will be like doing the speculation, talking like this fast. And it's going to take us half an hour to go through the speculations. Mariano, speculations and quit smoking, please. I've been trying my best in the past 2 weeks. Believe me, the past month, it's been crazy because I decided, yes, I quit smoking, and I quit for a week. Then I got stressed, like really stressed, and I needed cigarettes, so I got cigarettes. Then I finished the cigarettes, quit smoking for 3 days, and then I was stressed again. And, you know, these are not really things that you can control. That is the problem, because there are like critical moments when you quit an addiction in which the environment basically dictates how successful you will actually be. Because it's not a matter of knowing how to quit, how to be supported in quitting. I know all of these things. The problem is I cannot control the level of stress that comes from the outside. And if it's overwhelming, I go back to smoking, you know. And it's not like I'm overly sensitive. It's just that it's not a good period. There is a ton of shit happening and I am stressed. I really need a vacation. It doesn't help that since January, I've been basically working 50, 60 hours a week. So, you know, I need to lay in bed for a good couple of weeks. You know, I need to recover. So any kind of little thing starts stressing me out, then I sleep less, and I need to sleep more, and then I get even more stressed out. It's complicated. It's complicated. Emmeline, I'm using vapes to quit. I'm using them too. As a matter of fact, I have my electronic cigarette in here. It really helps. It really makes a difference. Tukia, first works, then relax, I would suggest. I agree. Mario, just do both at the same time. I would love to. But I am allowed only 1 cigarette a year inside the house. And I already had that while relaxing in my bathtub full of foam. I had my yearly cigarette. Only 1. That's the deal. And it's a good deal. I mean, my parents smoked. So I was raised in a house where I was used to the smell of cigarettes in the house. But once you live in a house that is smoke-free, you will not tolerate the smell of cigarette in the house anymore. It would be unbearable. I cannot, as much as I like to sit on my fat ass and just stay in front of the computer, relax and smoke a cigarette, I cannot bear the smell of cigarette in the house. Okay, let's move on to the speculations. Everybody who needed to live actually left. Can we move on? Are we okay with this? I'm taking, let's move on to the speculations. Okay, so this is the confessional chart for this episode. As you noticed, Akira got a ton of confessionals time. And this for me was somehow unexpected, because back in episode 4, do you remember episode 4? I actually have the chart from episode, let me put it up for a moment. Back in episode 4, I told you, it's kind of strange that Akira got so much confessional time, but Jara is the one who just went home. And she didn't get a lot of confessional times, like every queen you used to get. If you look back at every episode of All Stars, the moment they go home, immediately they have a spike in confessionals, because that's their last chance to make an impression. It's a nice thing that the producers and the editor actually do, so that the queens gets to appear a little bit more. She gets highlighted in the episodes in which she goes home. So my speculation was, okay, maybe they gave Akira more confessional time in episode 4, so that when she will actually go home, we can save up on that confessional time and give it to somebody else to highlight them. But the problem is that this episode she goes home and she has a ton of confessional time. So why the hell did Jara get so little confessional time back in episode 4? And at this point I'm thinking, the only logical conclusion in all of this is that somehow they might have wanted to make Jara a disservice, which gives even more credibility to her claims that she did during the Roscoe's viewing party. I'm just saying. So, Akira went home, and let's look at the queens that we have left. Jen is the only one with negative confessionals. These are the temporal incursions that she actually had at the beginning of the episode, which was still episode 5, day 2. Let's not forget that. The first, counting lipstick, it's still from the episode before, even though we see it in this episode, actually. So, Raja is the queens with the most confessional times. To me, she takes the spot as the Black Queen of Color. The Black Queen of Color. Oh my god. I bet it even sounds offensive. So she takes the spot as the Black Queen, not portrayed as a villain. Now, when I talk about spots and representation spots, it's not my opinion. I am putting myself from the point of view of the producers and from the point of view of the marketing department at Viacom CBS or World of Wonder, or possibly both. Okay, that's the language in which we're in. Because I had a couple of comments say, "Oh, you're saying that, and it means no. It's not. It's not like that." So for me, she takes the representation spot for the Queen of Color, not portrayed as a villain. A redemption storyline was very well executed, and it's still going strong with this episode obligatory bottom placement against her closest sister. The storyline was developed even more in this episode. She actually had a chance to showcase a totally new attitude toward being in the bottom, showing that she developed a more mature way of facing these situations, which is really a sharp contrast compared to what we've seen back in season 11. And in addition, this episode really closes the circle and cements her status as a redeemed villain. Because back in season 11, Raja was the one who was sent home by Akira. But this time, she is the one who will send Akira home. So it really is a full circle. So, based on all of this, to me, there is, at this point, there is no chance that she will not be in the top 4. She will definitely be in the top 4. For me, it's 99.99% at this point. Next up, we have Ginger. Ginger has a good amount of confessional times this episode as well, and she is the most professional big girl in there. So for me, she takes the representation spot as the big girl. And at this point, I would even go as far as calling her the winner of All-Star 6. Her edit is simply stellar, especially in the subtext. She is professional, she's empathic, she's a good listener, she is a fair player, and please take note of one thing. Her professional attitude is different from that edit that we usually get on Drag Race that I call the professional edit. Don't confuse the two things. It's two very different things. The professional edit is given to those queens who cannot really be triggered, that do well in everything without really jumping off the screen, and are constantly critiqued for refusing to get their hands dirty. They are professionals with regards to their performance on Drag Race, like Rosé, Cameron Michaels, Asia O'Hara, and so on and so forth. Ginger is professional in a different way because she is a professional toward production. She will, and she did already, get her hands dirty for the production, all the while looking natural and unaware. And that's a tough trick to learn, and a very valuable asset, especially long term. So, for me, at this point, I would go as far as saying she has the best chance of winning this. She definitely has the best chance of winning this. And you know how Aryan, the Hall of Fame, looks already. So, if a white girl is going to be there, it's going to be a big girl. And it has to be Ginger. Absolutely. Now, Kylie is the third queen that is still in the competition that had the most confessional time in this episode. She had a very effective edit in this episode with this mini redemption that was really pushed during rehearsal. It was pushed in the critiques, and it really climaxed in the lip sync for your legacy. For me, she's going to be our silent assassin this season. As an actual silent assassin. And if you don't know what a silent assassin is, it's a kind of edit in which you have a queen who will eventually end up in the top, but you don't really see her in the beginning of the season. And you can go 3, 4, usually 5 episodes, but no, I would go as far as say usually 4 episodes, not 5. Kylie is kind of a late bloomer. In which you don't see anything of these queens. Then suddenly, out of the blue, they emerge in full front, and from that moment on, they become unstoppable. So I am expecting Kylie's edit to continue to rise, and she will be stepping out of the background more and more going forward. And to me, she will take a spot in the top 4 as the trans contestant. At this point, I have very little doubt that she will not be in the top 4. Very little. Because the episode before, I started to get a little bit confused, but with this kind of edit, in this specific episode, and with this win, there is no doubt anymore. To me, she is the third queen who will definitely be in the top 4. Problem is, who is going to be the 4th? Because the 4th, it's really difficult to clock. For me, at this point, it could be either Trinity or Jen, because Trinity had a very good edit, but it was kind of an ambivalent edit, and then she started slowly fading in the background, while Jen was successfully triggered the episode before, and now her villain edit is in full force. So both are perfect candidate for that last spot in the top 4, but in order to really knock her down, we need to see what's going to happen to Jen next episode. If they trigger her again, and she gets triggered again, then she is our top 4 villain, which we almost always have in every season of Drag Race. You go to the top 4, you always have a villain there. So if this happens, we can say, sorry, Trinity, that last spot is going to be incredibly for Jen. And it's not a good thing. It's really not a good thing, because this season is not doing Jen any favor whatsoever. Now, Pandora keeps fading in the background. At this point, for me, it's too late for her head to rise. There is no chance whatsoever that she will ever get to the top 4. They fucked her up in Season 2, they fucked her up in All Stars 1, and now they're fucking her up in All Stars 6. At least, I would hope that they will give her a moment to really shine, because, you know, it's Pandora. Give her a moment to really shine. If you could make Kylie win this challenge, then give Pandora a moment to shine. Just one moment. And then you can send her home. Because this is just painful. This is jumping. I'm happy for the queens who are getting a good edit. I'm happy for the queens who get to change the way they were initially perceived and go, beyond the villain edit that introduced them to the world. But, there are also queens like Pandora and Jen who are really getting the short end of the deal. Really. And last we have Eureka. Eureka has a great edit. She is really getting a redemption from Season 10, showing, a totally different attitude. Eureka looks like she did a lot of growing, like she became really mature. It really looks like it's been 10 years since Season 10. That's the difference that I perceive when I see Eureka in All Stars 6. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But unfortunately, as far as representation spots go, there is simply no comparison with Ginger. And it's not just a matter of professionalism. It's also the fact that they slapped on Eureka. Plain and simple. There were opportunities to actually give her a win, and she didn't get it. So for me, at this point, there is really no doubt. For me, she has no chance to be in the top 4. Now, a last thing, because we go to smoke a cigarette. Will any returning queen... yes, any returning queen. Yes, any returning queen, because one queen has to definitely return to the competition. Will any returning queen possibly get to the top 4? For me, no, because... You know how I watch Drag Race, how I make my statistics about Drag Race. It never happened. And I think in a way it never really happened for a reason. Because if you're gone for 5 episodes, people are not going to be so keen on the idea that you will end up in the top 3 or top 4, depending on the season, when you have been away for 5 episodes. This is something that I completely understand. And I think the main reason why... we never had a returning queen that actually get to the top 4. So for me, I never said it before, but from the from the speculations that I've always done at the end of every review, I think that you kind of got that. For me, no returning queen has a chance on the top 4. I'm not even considering the possibility. And for me, there really is no chance that a returning queen would go to the top 4. Best case scenario, she will go home immediately. Best. I'm sorry, but this, this is what I think is going to happen. Now, it's time to go smoke a cigarette. But before we go to smoke a cigarette, first I need to prepare it. And I want to go through a couple of comments that I saw. Where are the comments? Wait a second. Yes, if I prepare it before, I will be more efficient with my timing, because the song lasts for like 3 minutes. Takes me 2 minutes to smoke and about a minute to make it. Okay, comments. Here we go. Owen, Ginger is perfect for the show. She is their best chance to make Drag Race a real child-friendly family show because she's like a Nickelodeon host. Oh shit. That's a great observation. That's a great observation. I was more like, yeah, Ginger will get her hands dirty. That's not a problem. She will do it. And she will do it while smiling. She will do it while nobody really noticing it. She is committed. She is a professional, you know. She knows the industry. Let's say it like this. She knows the industry. And you know that winning All-Stars, it's not like it's a long-term gig, but you will appear again on the show, and you want somebody, you know, stable to be there. You want somebody you can count on, especially if it's going to be somebody's different from what we are used to winning All-Stars. Because, you know, before Monet and Shea, it was basically white thin girls. And that's it. And that's it. Possibly blonde. Fabio, who do you think they would let return? I have no idea. It looks like they every time for all the queens that I've seen so far, apart from Jara, they closed their storylines. So if they return, for me, they would stay like one episode, so they don't really need a storyline. So maybe it doesn't matter. But if we judge by who has still an open storyline, I would say that by this point, Jara has the best chance. Because she didn't really even have a storyline. What was her storyline? Being crazy? Acting crazy? I don't know. Tukia, I mean, Art got there in Down Under, but it was Down Under, so we cannot use it as proof. Yes, mostly because it was only co-produced by World of Wonder. So not only World of Wonder didn't have all the power, but also there was no influence from Viacom CBS, a huge corporation that surely takes into account its market, which is the U.S. So no, I don't think, you know, if I would be doing the job for other iteration of Drag Race, I would probably bomb every single prediction, because right now I'm tuned to what they do for the US. Switching from another kind of another way of doing editing, another way of carrying storylines, another market that I don't know, because you know the only reason why I'm familiar with the US market is that I've been not monitoring, but I've been paying attention to what the producers on this show has done over and over, and a lot of content that I consume comes from the US. So I kind of have an idea, but if I have to judge content created for Australia, New Zealand, I have no idea which kind of market is there. So it's difficult. I don't think so. That to answer your question, I don't think so. Owen, the weird thing with the returning queens is that they want to give an early out a chance to shine, but they will never get to the final over a late leaver who wouldn't get voted back in. Yeah, that's exactly the point. That's why the formula of the returning queen doesn't work and never worked. The only way in which you can make it work is if you really do a Survivor type kind of thing, because then at that point you make them compete as much as everybody else in the main part of the show. So in that way it would feel deserved, and in that way it would work. But that is the only way in which personally I think it would work. Beaver, now can I tell how many episodes season 14 will have? No, we don't make spoilers in here. Speculation, everything goes. Bring in all the information. We can discuss for ages about how the different things fit together, who gets it right, who gets it wrong, and so on and so forth. But spoiler take away the fun. That's the point. That's the point. They take away the fun. I mean, for example, I haven't finished watching Drag Race Canada, for example. For me, it's not a problem that I have spoilers because I'm not really reviewing it. So I'm not into, looking for clues, try to find out and so on. But, for the U.S. season, I prefer to stay spoiler free. This is this is the way we approach spoilers in the channel. I fucked up once with that. One time I remember it was the finale of season 12. And I went in the community section congratulating the winner and all the queens because they did fantastic despite being in lockdown, despite filming from home and so on. And I was so excited. It was, I think it was the very first time that I stayed up late until 4 in the morning because that's, when we would get the episode in here. And I was so excited that I just posted the thing and people destroyed me. Because, I got them used to this policy of no spoilers, ever. That's also why, incidentally, you never see me posting anything in the community section at least 2 days after the episode actually airs. Beverly, what do you think of Scarlett talking back via social media to Mama Ru? I have no idea. I haven't seen anything. Ryan, like in UK Season 2, they sent home the front runners right away. Yeah, kind of. But it was a really good season. Fulani, do you think that the game within a game has something to do with no one winning more than one challenge? No, I don't think so. Why would it be? Or maybe I'm missing something. It could be. Let's go smoke a cigarette. It's definitely time. And I'll see you back in 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, depending how long the song will go. See you in a minute.
Always great news.
I'm asking questions time and time again in a race that never, ever ends. Hanging from my lips in the swaying breeze. I'm hoping and I gotta
And we are back. Kevin. Is that a joke? Well, Kevin, you just earned yourself a ban. Thank you for coming. Okay. Well, if that thing turns out to be false, I will apologize and unban you. For everything else, you can kindly go fuck yourself. You know, I don't know what you get out of this, but you know, there are many ways in life in which you can achieve a sort of stability that will allow you not needing to push other people's down to feel better by contrast, which is looking back at your own achievement and how you grow over time. That's something that you can definitely use. But since you're not there yet, take the ban and put it up your ass. Okay, moving on to the other comments, shall we? I don't know why people sometimes really feel the need to be a dick. I mean, I get it that we are online. It doesn't really feel like, a face-to-face interaction. Maybe for some people it doesn't even feel like a real interaction. But, at this point we've been going through lockdown and everything else for, 18 months? So I bet that changed a lot of people's perspective. So I tend to believe that at this point, if you are being a dick online, you're probably a dick in real life. Mrs. G, I think he was saying she was top 3 for the season Eureka returned. Could be. Could also be that you're really a nice person, which is how I know you. So, we'll see. I mean, I have no problem in apologizing if I fuck up. So, if I fucked up, I will apologize. If I didn't, that's just how it is. I mean, I'm not Jesus. I have a limited amount of patience and understanding. More than average, I like to think, but, I have my limit as well. Signature note, I'm in Florida. What lockdown? Yeah, I know. We in here, Europe, I believe, we are not in real lockdown anymore, but things are not back to normal yet. And they will not get back to normal. Well, I can't talk about it on YouTube, shit. But let's say we'll need to see. Let's hope for the best. We will need to see. Nico, I suggest Venji, Shangela, and Eureka don't count because it's not in the same season. Yes, that's the point that I wanted to make. It was, the context was clearly that we were talking within the same season. I mean, I even mentioned missing some episodes. So for me, there is like little doubt about it. So I don't know. Emmeline, random question. I asked the chat, do you think any of this season queens will get a Funko? What's a Funko? Is it something that I'm allowed to talk about on YouTube? What's a Funko? Let me Google it. Funko is an American company that manufactures licensed pop culture collectibles. Vinyl figurines and bobbleheads. They do those things for queens? I mean, I understand the need to make money. I understand merchandise, but is there really a market for figurines of queens? I mean, I am not surprised about it. I mean, it's business, but it I don't know. It feels I would expect more a queen to have a line of dildos, for example, that having a line of figurines. I don't know. I don't know. Probably yes. Probably yes. I mean, let's not forget that they are under contract, and by contract, if World of Wonder wants to produce this merchandise, I think they have very little saying in it. I don't know. Are there many queens who have Funkos, like they decided to create Funkos? Mariano, Adore, Shangela, Jinx, Katya, and Alaska have one. Oh. Well, they sure like money. Who doesn't like money? Emmeline, hell yeah. Shanji, Trixie, Katya, Jinx all have one. That's incredible news to me. That's incredible news. I didn't even know that these things... Well, I know that figurines exist, but the other ones with the big head and... Oh, that's interesting, because at some point I said that we would start having drag dolls as part of, expanding to the kids market. And this is very in line with it. This is very in line with it. Owen, it's more likely World of Wonder will commission the Pops than the Queens, but Manila did release her own doll, so yes, it has been done. I'm not very happy about it, let me tell you that. I mean, I think I know people, like grown people, that would absolutely get it as, as a collectible. There's no doubt about that. I don't think that they are the biggest share of the market. I think the intended market is something else. Which, I don't know. I feel... What's the word? Conflicted. I feel conflicted about it. Even Dominguez, you should really watch this season's Pit Stop. Not even they buy the edit. Well, the problem with the Pit Stop is that it's still produced by World of Wonder, so it's almost impossible to actually understand the difference between queens who are there to make a review and queens who are there, taking into account the fact that they are working for a paycheck and they would probably, be in a good relationship with World of Wonder. So you never know how much that thing influences the things that they say. I have no doubt that some queens are actually coached in what to say during the reviews. Not like they write down a script and say, oh, you need to see these things. More like, you need to touch on this points with this tone, in this kind of way. And, based on that, I don't even consider them. It's nothing against the queens who actually go there. Good for them that they get some work. Good for them that they get the exposure. But for me, as a viewer, honestly, I prefer to watch somebody else's review who has absolutely no ties with World of Wonder and has no obligation to actually hold back in what they really think. That is my personal taste. I'm not judging anyone. Zoe, marry, fuck, kill. Laganja, Alyssa, Katya? Oh my god. Annalisa, these stuff are such a trend during nerd conventions. They are cute and cheap. You have no idea how expensive is an action figure. Yeah, I don't. Kunimitsu, I love this season so far. My favorite are Sonique and Eureka. I'm glad Pandy finally is getting some screen time. Yes, she is getting it, but it's not really anything to gag about. And I love the runway theme this week. Yes, it was good. It was good. The only thing that I have against the runway themes is that there is always I can never let myself go and look at the queen and say, oh, it's great. There's always this little voice in the back of my head that says, yes, but they had to pay for this. They had to go out of their way. Maybe somebody else has designed it. Maybe, they had nothing to do with it. That always puts it out. I am never, my mind never really allows me to look at the runway and just embrace it, like I used to do when I was more naive toward RuPaul's Drag Race. Like, way more naive. Nightmare. Bob said in the pit stop they edited his opinion to be less harsh. So I agree that the pit stop follows the show main agenda. Yes, it's not like it's a 100% thing, because if it was, people would start noticing. It's not a good way of doing business, but it's not what I would consider 100% unbiased, because it's not, especially if it's queens that already worked with World of Wonder, that hope to continue working with World of Wonder. It's not like they invite someone from the outside, that maybe doesn't even care about World of Wonder, that just comes there and actually talks. So I don't know, for me, that I don't have that much time to actually sit in front of the computer and start, consuming content over content over content. The little time that I have, I want to hit the spot immediately. Like, I have 1 hour before falling asleep. Okay, I want to watch something that I know will relax me. So no, I don't watch it. I don't find it interesting, to be honest. Owen, that's why I like first impressions with Bob and Thorgy, because it's just real, unfiltered opinions. Yes, more than the pit stop. But then again, a little bit until a certain point there as well. Because I'm pretty sure that Thorgy would be more than happy to come back for All Stars. And we know what's Bob's attitude with World of Wonder. It's not like he goes out of his way to suck up to them, but he has shown, a certain level of personal interest in there. Let's say it like this, which normally for me would be unacceptable. But with Bob, for me, it's a special case, because he is like that 5% of the time. And 95% of the time is that bitch that always tells you how it is. So based on that, Bob is a special case. Everybody else is everybody else. No, when I was talking about watching other people's review, I mean queens who have never been on Drag Race, or that they don't really want to be on Drag Race. Like, maybe I should do a video about the people that do content related to Drag Race who I actually watch, Messagey, I don't know if anyone asked this before, but when was that moment you started thinking critically about that show? Yeah, it was something we talked about last stream. It was a slow process. It became completely evident around season 8, around the very beginning of season 8. It was probably, almost a complete thought during season 7, because that thing with Trixie in season 7 was just ridiculous. I don't want to discuss that lip sync. I know it's still controversial, but I'm just saying everything was so convenient that at that point it kind of started like pieces of the puzzle were fitting together. I was starting to see the image. The problem is I don't think in season 7 I was ready to see the image. So it was around season 8. And then I realized that I started, the things that I was ready to accept, that it really felt like coming out. I have to say it like this, it really felt like coming out. Like, oh, I always knew it, but, that's how it felt. That's how it felt. Andre Edwards, I think Nina Bonino reviews are the only true ones from the RuPaul's Drag Race Queen. Oh, Nina doesn't give a shit. Nina doesn't give a shit. What I like about Nina is that what I like, and I know that I shouldn't like it, but I like it nevertheless, is that like she really acts like we are sitting in the living room smoking a joint and talking shit. And it's enjoyable. It's very enjoyable. But for a queen of her reach, it could also be very dangerous. Because, things that you talk about while sitting on a couch and smoking a joint, they have a very specific context, which doesn't translate in YouTube videos. It doesn't translate. And even if it did, a lot of people don't want it to translate. If I made my point. Nightmare. Well, let's remember that Bob has shown that her loyalty is with the franchise. When she talked about the fracking, is funny and he speaks lots of truth. But he also has something to get. Yes, that's the point. That's the point. But thankfully, he is like that, like 5% of the time. And when he is not, is really not over the top. That's not the right way of saying it. It exceeds expectations in the other 95. So for me, he is a very special case. Like, there are no many queens that are willing to shill for World of Wonder that I hold in as high regard as I do with Bob. And I did a video, discussing all the fracking, all the shilling for the fracking that he did. And I'm still, saying those things. So he is a special case. Nina Bonina Brown has been asked multiple times to come back for All Stars, and she has said no. She doesn't care about WoW's opinion. Nina doesn't give a fuck. Not a fuck. Doesn't give fake praise to the show. In a way, I hope that she will never accept an invitation back to All Stars, because I think they will throw her under the bus. Like, there is no doubt for me. She had kind of a good edit in season 9. They tried to give her that insecure queen who finds herself thanks to Mama Ru, thanks to the sisterhood, and blah blah blah. And I don't think Nina was having any of that back in season 9. It went on for a little bit and then just now. So I don't know. I don't think it would be a good move career-wise. Also because she's doing very well on YouTube. And if I know that going on Drag Race will really skyrocket you, but how long does that last? If you are lucky enough that you don't get fucked over by the show, how long does it really last? Because at the end of the day, yes, it gives you a huge push, but then you have to maintain it by yourself. And she's already doing that here on YouTube, because despite the controversy, despite You know, in a way, people willingly trying to take her out of context as much as possible, try not to give her the benefit of the doubt, like wanting to have some drama to discuss about, you know. Even after all of that happened, she's still going strong. So, you know, I'm more conservative in this manner, not conservative in a political way, conservative like if you have something that works, continue doing what's working. You should continue doing that, because you never know. You go on Drag Race, maybe you get portrayed like shit, and then you know, everything you worked so hard to accomplish on YouTube goes down the drain. Oh, chat skipped. Let me go real quick. There we go. Zoe, what did you mean with the lip sync of Trixie? Stop bringing it back. You know, the Pearl versus Trixie, because still today you have people who are ready to draw blood on who really deserved to win that lip sync. Well, I betrayed myself with the way I said it. So, yes, I thought Trixie won. Come on. I mean, Pearl is a fantastic queen, but back in season 7 with that Pearl smash, it was just unwatchable. It was just unwatchable. Emmeline, has your partner convinced you to watch Camp Wanakiki yet? Because you're missing out, and of course we'd all love to hear your analysis of it. I watched part of an episode with him, but then I went back to work. It was the episode when James Mansfield was helping with creating the wigs. So I haven't gone into it yet. I have a lot of things I want to catch up. In a way, I'm really looking forward for All Stars to end, so I actually have time again, you know, to actually have a Saturday in which you sit there and you do nothing. Like nothing. I mean, I enjoy the live streams, but I don't enjoy that much all the work, all the preparation work that you have to do before. And it's not the work itself, it's the fact that you have to respect the deadline. That's the point. So I am proud of the way the show is doing. We are getting a lot of new viewers. I'm getting a lot of comments actually from people saying, I cannot believe that I found out your channel only now. You know, things like this, things of people that for some reason received a notification, which is something really rare. And, you know, they are impressed enough to actually write comments like this. So in a way, I'm proud of this, but I'm really looking forward for All Star 6 to end so that I can take a long pause until season 14, because this rhythm is really unsustainable. Zoe, I really have to sleep right now. I'd rather chit chat with you. First time that I made it so long without falling asleep. Go to sleep. Thank you for coming, Zoe. I really appreciate it, but go to sleep. I don't think my voice is really soothing for falling asleep. So close the computer, go to sleep. Johnny Boy Toy, Pearl is a horrible lip syncer. But so is Trixie, and I have to agree on that. I have to agree. Annalisa, well, look at Jan. This season is doing no good to her. My God, Jan. I don't know what possessed her to go back on All Stars. It's like, you know, some queens are stuck in this mindset that, oh, if I get an opportunity, I need to take it, because if I don't take it, then I might regret it. in the future? What happens if I don't get the call? And they are stuck from that perspective, which is a good perspective, but it's not the only perspective that you should keep in mind when you're making this kind of decision. What if it backfires? What if it backfires big time? Yes, the chances of having a villain edit like Jen are like 10%, but when you literally spent years building yourself up, you went through a season of Drag Race, you went out with a good edit in a season of Drag Race, people love you, then why risk all of that? Especially since she just came fresh from season 12. When people say maturity, growing, and changing, getting better, and so on and so forth, they don't mean just the level of your drag. They don't mean just your makeup skill, your wardrobe, and so on, because, you can always pay someone to teach you how to do better makeup. You can always pay someone to get you nice dresses that look good on you. Now, that's not the point. The point is a personal maturity, something that you gain by going through difficulties and finding a way out all by yourself while slowly learning from all of your mistakes. When I say growth is about owning the times you fuck up, that's exactly what I mean. Looking back, not shying away from the shit that you did, but using it as a proper feedback to go to the next level. This is what I want to see when people come back for All Stars. And this is what will be more impressive about them, because it's immediate. I mean, a good dress is a good dress. But the right attitude at the right time, maybe with a little bit of help from the edit, really can make people do a 180 on you. I mean, look at Silky. She is still the self-centered person that she was back in season 11. But the edit made a complete difference. And as I said before, I don't think she's a bad person. But she is self-centered, and when you are self-centered like that, you end up doing things that are very easy to misconstrue as the action of a person who is just, a piece of shit of a person. That's the problem with her. That's why I think so many people don't like her, and so many people voice such negative opinions toward her. I mean, I never digested the whole going on vacation during lockdown, but I would never go as far as saying, oh, she's a terrible person, oh, she is this, oh, she is that. No, she is just self-centered. That's the problem. I don't think she realizes that the effect of the things that she said, since she is so concentrated on herself. At least that's what I think. Zoe, have you seen Pearl's video about her abusive past and mindset? Yes, I saw it. I also saw something that I think not many of you have seen. It was back in season 7, immediately after season 7. The video was since then removed. It was one of the producers. It was really creepy. It was, I think, one of the field producers, who went to do a mini interview of the Queens of season 7 before they were going to do their entrance in episode 1. And so you have this cameraman going through to all of the queens. They are all in makeup. They are all in separate rooms and so on. And they talk like with this soft voice. And the way he was talking to it looked like the beginning of a porno. I have to be honest. That's how it looked to me. It was so uncomfortable. And I'm not the kind of person that uses that word lightly. It was really uncomfortable. It really looked, the power dynamic that was going around it, it was like, my mind started wandering, and at some point I said to myself, stop doing that. Just stop doing that. Nothing good is going to come out of it. And that video disappeared. thankfully. So no other people had to go through it. Signature note, they are bringing season 13 back after All Stars 6 ends. Fuck season 13. Fuck season 13. My god. Oh, shit. Emmeline, even without the analysis, I hope you get to enjoy it. It's a hoot. From what I saw, I like it that it's so raw. We're talking about Camp Wanakiki. I like it that it's so... it feels intimate. It feels intimate. However, my partner thinks it's a little bit stretched out too much. It could be compressed in like 20 minutes instead of 30 or 40 minutes. And from what I've seen, I tend to agree. But I like that it's so amateur. It feels real. It feels so real. This is something that has a ton of... it works for me. Oh, and actually, I used your other live stream to fall asleep sometime. It's actually quite effective. Well, good for you. Good for you. If it works for you, good for you. I would never fall asleep while listening to me. I can tell you that much. Oh, yes. See, Jan wanted to strike while the iron was hot. In my opinion, she should have waited 3 or 4 years to keep relevancy. I agree. I agree. If not, just for the personal growth. 3 or 4 years, yes. It's also good for the queens, because you come out of Drag Race. You live this fantasy of 1 or 2 years in which you are... abnormally relevant, because you're relevant because of the show, not because, you know, you are... Yes, of course, you worked your ass on the show, but it's not really because of what you're actually doing by yourself. You know, the way that you're keeping yourself relevant, the way that you're promoting yourself online, either by doing digital drag shows, opening a YouTube channel, starting to create content, or simply having an Instagram account that it's really active with a lot of followers where people tune in regularly, you know. So you don't have all of this, so you want to wait for the curve to actually go down, wait for new batches of queens to come back on, so that you can really get an idea of how good you're really doing on your own, and then take a couple of years to actually work on your own, you know, and see if it works for you, because at that point you have the exposure. People are already primed to you. So if you come out with something good, they will notice immediately, because they've been already primed, because you have been on Drag Race 2-3 years ago. So I think it's not only a mandatory thing to wait 3 or 4 years before going on All Stars. I think it's actually an opportunity that can really be exploited career-wise for a queen. So yeah, 3 or 4 years minimum. Katya, I think it's the only notable exception that came out from season 7, went immediately on All Stars 2, and still made the most out of it. I wouldn't think... I liked Katya coming out of season 7. I had no idea she would eventually become so big. Like, zero idea. And even 1 year after... when finally All Stars aired, I still thought, yeah, she is good, but she is not like the tornado she is today. It was really unexpected to me. Nico, Jan had no choice. Contract Stellar went to go to All Stars. Yes, until a certain point. Because at this point, we know so many queens, including the last one was Adore Delano, who said that she was offered. So many queens have been asked to go, so many queens have said no, and nothing really happened. So some things in the contract are definitely being exploited 100%. Other things look more like they are in there just to, appease, just to, for the sensation that they leave to one of the parties, knowing that, well, if I really wanted to fuck you over, then I can do it, but then nothing really happens. So this is one of those clauses that I think it's there just because at the end of the day, a ton of queens said no, a ton of queens didn't, get any backlash from it. On the other hand, they were asked again the year later, and then the year later. So I don't think that has anything. In practical terms, that has no influence on the abilities of the queens to decide if they want to go on All Stars or not. Practically. Theoretically, yes, because it's in the contract. But you always have to consider the two things together. Zoe, your voice works perfectly to fall asleep. No shade. You guys are Which word was I thinking about? Why was I saying shit? I wanted to say strange. I don't know. You guys are strange. I don't think my voice is good at all. I don't think my voice is good at all. For falling asleep, most of all, my God. I mean, good for you. If it works for you, that's perfect. I'm flattered. If it works for you, I'm flattered. I would never fall asleep listening to me. Like, never. Well, I would have to be very self-centered for even trying to do that. But, I listen to myself when I have to edit for the actual episode. And, there are moments in which I'm like, please, shut the fuck up already. Shut the fuck up already. Nightmare, I think she saw Monet and Cracker and thought that she could have the same run, but sadly there's no redemption for everybody. Yeah, I don't think Monet had that good of a run in All Stars to begin with. It was good for her. In the end, she had a win, but I remember back in the day, a lot of people were like, she didn't deserve it, she shouldn't have been there, she shouldn't have won. And that with good editing, they could have, altered the perception by a fair amount. But it was nowhere near the level of Jan. I mean, the last thing I've seen something like this happening on All Stars, it was Jeremy in All Stars 2. That's the last thing that I saw them go this hard on a queen. Because, All Stars has always been about throwing fan favorites under the bus. We see it happen every season of All Stars. It always happens. We had Alexis Mateo in All Stars 5, Latrice in All Stars 4. Then in All Stars 3 we had Thoji and Bibi. So, and then Alaska, and that's the formula of All Stars. But it's a gamble. It's really a gamble. I think that Adore said it better than anybody could ever say it. You need to be in the right headspace to do it. You need to be prepared for this kind of game, because it's a very different game, especially because of the way other people started to play it. I see a lot of things going on in this season of All Stars, and I say 10% of what I see, because I know that the vast majority of people are not ready for that kind of conversation. Just like nobody was ready for having the kind of conversations that we had today 4 years ago, when, actually YouTube was pushing my content and so on and so forth. There's time and time for having conversations. So, but I can tell you this much: there are a lot of things that you need to consider when you are there on All Stars. A lot of things. And in order to fulfill most of them, you also need a personal maturity that it's not something that you can really achieve in your early 20s. It's not because you are stupid. It's just that you literally need 30 years of experience on this earth to reach that level of awareness. That's what I think. Ivana, what if they do 2 Snatch games? Oh, I would be happy to get one. I'm okay with one. As long as it's not the Snatch Game of Love. Zoe, how popular is Drag Race in your country? Because in Germany, where I live, I think it's not that popular. I don't think it's very popular in here. I don't know anyone in real life that follows Drag Race. It's just me and my partner. Johnny Boy Toy, the resident queen of Puerto Vallarta, yes. We are giving her a little bit of a break. A little bit of a break on that. Oh, chat skipped. What a surprise. Jason, you should be very proud of what you do and put out there, because me of one love starting my Mondays with you and everyone in the live chat. So big thank you, and please know you're all. Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to hear it. Thank you. Sasha, am I the only one that feels like season 13 was a whole year in itself? Almost 2 years. It felt like it was never ending. It felt like a chore. Really. You know, I considered myself a super fan of Drag Race. Not crazy level of super fan, but yeah, a super fan. I mean, you see in the kind of the reviews come out like this because that's what's on my mind when I watch the show. So, you know, all of these things are already there to begin with. But with season 13, if I wasn't doing the review, I can assure you I would have stopped watching mid-season. To breathe, to take a pause, because it was just too much. So long, nothing happens, the edit is terrible, the storylines are terrible, casting was not really good. It was just too bad. It's like season 11 for me. Season 11 is the very first season of Drag Race that I watched only midway. I caught up with it, I think, in the late summer. But there was a moment in which I thought it's too bad. I cannot take it anymore. I need a pause. Emmeline, speaking of power dynamics, what do you think of Brooklyn handling the girls on Canada now that you're watching? I don't want to spoil, but one moment in particular, good God. No, it's okay. I mean, my partner watched it. We talk about it. It's no problem. Canada is Canada. I saw the first couple of episodes of Canada's Drag Race, and my first impression was that she needs time to adjust to the role. It's not something that happens from a moment to another. I think Brooklyn is still trying a little bit too much to be a spin-off of RuPaul. I think she needs to bring her own personality to this new iteration of the show. And it's something that you learn in time. So I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, at least for a couple seasons. If by season 3 she is still the way she is, then I will be officially calling it a shit show. Sasha, my God, your voice is good to fall asleep. It really sounds like those Reddit videos, and I fall asleep with them quite often. Oh well, thank you. I mean, it's a good compliment. It's a good compliment. Never thought of myself in that way, but it's a good compliment. Signature note, I think the season 12 girls don't feel the same high because of the pandemic. They haven't been touring and stuff like they normally would. Yeah, I know, and that can actually fuck with your mind because that's the mind state in which you are, but the rules of the games are still the same. So they can throw you off balance, yes, definitely. But the rules are still the same. So, I feel sorry for Jen. She literally had everything against her. But, they filmed All Stars after season 13. She could have had a nice talk with Rosé. Oh no, but by that time she probably already bought all the wardrobe and everything else, so she couldn't really get, to sit down with Rosé and having Rosé saying, they tried to trigger me, it was constant, they were relentless, and, and maybe Jen would have stopped for a second and think, oh, wait a moment. Annalise said, the contract is more a safe spot for World of Wonder by what I saw during the latest years. They can say no, but if the show really needs them, WoW can use more pressure with them. That's the same thing that I think. It's more a matter of being a safe spot. Some things are definitely enforced, but I don't think participation of All Stars is one of those things. Marlon, still waiting for your online live show with a little bit of money. You frack it well and many other hits. Yeah, I love doing the music parodies. The problem is that they take in a lot of time, and you need to be in the right mindset. Because if you're not in the right mindset, you're not really having fun with it. And if you don't have fun with it, what's even the point? It's not like it's not like I have like an incentive, that I say, okay, if I make it, millions of people will watch, or I will earn enough to buy a house. It's just shit like this. It's not like that. It's like, do I feel giggly today? Do I feel like I am ready to embrace the stupidity? And apart from the fact that I have no time like usual, it's been really, in the past 3 weeks, it's been really difficult to be in that mindset. Mario, you're quoting me. I see you appreciated it. I actually have, I think, 3 or 4 more parody songs already written. Because, when I feel like it, that I have a song stuck in my head, and then it kind of, things, in a way, a part of my brain has a mind of its own. So while I'm doing something, words start to assemble together, and then they get stuck in my head, and they basically write themselves. But singing them, you really need to feel it, if you know what I mean. You really need to be, how would the judges say? You really need to feel like you are doing what you are supposed to be doing, if you know what I mean. Zoe, favorite queen of all time? So many. There is so many. It's so that these questions are so difficult for me because so many queens, are not attracted. It's not the right word. That has like a physical meaning. I can connect with, but on different levels. Like when it's about comedy, I connect more with one specific queen. When it's about attitude, I connect more to another queen. When it's about the run on Drag Race, then I connect more to another. So those kind of questions were much easier to ask when I was much younger. You know, I remember there used to be a time in which questions like these would be normal part of everyday's conversation, and today it becomes so difficult to answer them. Like, it's so difficult. Oh, where am I? Chat skipped again. Oh, good night, Zoe. Good night. Fulani, it took like a month to eliminate a queen. Oh my god. There was a moment in which I counted the competitive episodes in season 13 and calculated the percentage. It was like 35% were non-elimination episodes. It was that bad. I mean, I get it. You need to make those advertisement coins. And, you know, if you watch on VH1, you know that advertisement, it's almost 35% of the time that you spend watching Drag Race on VH1. So it's a lot of fucking money. So I do understand that maybe you want to stretch a season a little bit, but for fuck's sake, there's a limit to everything. Find some middle way. Nico, after Asia killed the butterflies, it all went down. That was really unfortunate. That was really unfortunate. Flani, so Brooklyn isn't getting the vitriol that Jeffrey received. I wonder why. That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question, and I'm not sure I have an answer for you. Part of it, I'm sure, has to do with the fact that Brooklyn was on season 11. She was an established queen. She was already in her element. Well, what Jeffrey did was more... he had this stunt. What was it? All Stars 4? In which he appeared. I think maybe he appeared another time, but it wasn't really in his element. So, you know, when shit started to go down, I have the impression that it was like a shit magnet in the panel of judges. So even though you could find things to say about all of them, somehow all went to him. Sasha, Rosé and Jen didn't see each other before she went. They were still recording when Jen went for the 2 weeks quarantine. Oh, you are right. You are right. I always forget about the 2 weeks quarantine. So they probably didn't even see each other, like you're saying. Shit. If only she did. If only she did. You know, I have really a lot of respect for Rosé. I would have walked out. You know, before you do something that you know you're going to regret, just walk out. I would have walked out of season 13 if I was Rosé. Where am I? Tukia, I watched your All Stars 5 videos and realized how relatable Miss Cracker is. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, she is really relatable. That's why, you know, sometimes you hear me greet everyone with saying things like hello relatable people, or I will, you know, when somebody says something I would say, oh, that's so relatable. That's where it comes from the All Stars 5 live streams, because, you know, she was so overproduced. Well, don't get me started on Cracker. We want to keep it cute, but yeah, I'm glad you are enjoying it. I'm glad you are enjoying it. Nightmare, last week I just saw the chop from All Stars. Didn't I just read this comment, or am I falling asleep? Oh no, this is from Nightmare. For All Stars 5, to understand the joke about Cracker being relatable, and oh boy, it went south really quickly. It was a rough season. It was. You know, I always try to, especially if I am talking to a lot of people, like on live stream or on a video, I try to filter myself a little bit, not changing the meaning of the things that I mean, but try to convey them in a more not acceptable, in a more digestible manner, you know, not just as raw as they come in my head, because, you know, you need to take into consideration that the more people listen to you, the higher the probability is that those people are all different, which means they get things in a different way, and some might get the wrong message. So I always try to filter myself a little bit. But with Cracker, I really had difficulties, like really big difficulties, because it was just too much. You know, it's the contrast. Like, if you're an ass of a person and you show it and you own it and that's your brand, I have no problem with it. What's the problem? That's what you're selling me. That's who you are. That's where you go. The problem is when you have this brand of someone that is relatable, someone that is fun, someone that doesn't take things so seriously, you know, and then you do the kind of shit that she did, then I'm like, you are full of shit. You really are full of shit. You know, there are people out there who are really relatable and nobody sees them because they spend time watching you, who are a complete different person in real life. So I'm not judging the way you are, but, you know, show me the right face and then we can talk. It was really hard. It was hard. In comparison, the Resident Queen of Puerto Vallarta was really a breeze. Like, really a breeze. It's like with Nina West, for example. You know, she has all this thing of, apart from the fact that she creeps me the fuck out, apart from that, she has all of these brands like, Disney and so on. She's very active in the community. She raised a ton of money. Objectively, she's a good person. By all possible standards that I use in my everyday life, she's a good person. But that fucking thing with, you know, getting people from the audience in order to suck their feet on stage, and I'm like, For God's sake, don't you see any kind of power imbalance in there? Don't you see that some people cannot really say no? Because, it's a live show. Hundreds, if not even thousands of people are watching you. Do you think that's the best way to ask for someone's consent? Apart from the fact that they could be drunk. And then you see one thing and then you see another and then you're like, okay, yes, there is a 2% possibility that this is just a show. There's also a 98% possibility that you are taking advantage of your position, which is honestly disgusting. And it wouldn't have such strong impact on me if she didn't have that other specific brand outside. So, it's really hard with some queens to be objective for me, which is why I try not to talk about them. Fulani, you sound sleepy, my friend. Maybe it's time for the liquids. Maybe it's time for bed. I think we're going to cut the stream early today because I'm really, really, really destroyed. And next week it's going to be pretty intensive. So, next Sunday we won't have a live stream. We will go directly to the episode. But on Wednesday, we will have a live stream here with Vilma. I hope everything goes smoothly because I never really had guests before. I had some people call in. It's something that we tried during the reading of the contract. But I hope everything will go smoothly, and I hope we get to resolve this thing with Patreon and find out what the fuck has actually happened. I hope some of you will join, and if not, I will see you back in a couple of weeks or when the episode actually comes out. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you soon. Good night, everyone.